Well, good morning, everybody. Very good to see each and every one of you here. On my application, weather app, it said it's supposed to start raining at 8:11, and it was 8:17 when it showed up. So I'm like, okay, we may be all right. We may be able to get through this. And then right before Bob started showing up, it started raining outside. So we're like, okay, this is going to be it. Now we can imagine, if you will, the early Christians, they worshipped in a place like this with stone walls, but they didn't see the outside because they were in the catacombs, which meant they were either worshiping in the sewers or in the tombs, away from everybody. So we have this nice little cozy feel here, but this is tradition. We can remember going all the way back to the early Christians who had to jam into little places like this, out of the way. So as we come into worship, as we're all nice and snug and getting to know each other, let us thank God that we are here. Let us set our minds and our hearts to receive whatever gifts God has given us, is giving us, to hear what God wants us to hear this morning. But above all, know that we are loved. Each and every one of us is loved by God. Thanks and praise let us give. We're going to open with a new song. This song is written by a friend of mine who pastors down in Hutchinson's. We went to seminary together, and she was over in Aberdeen when I was in Ipswich. And it's called Imago Dei. It's Latin, in the image of God. Imago Dei. You may rise. Here we go. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, born in the image of God are we. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, called to compassion, born to be free. How shall we live as images of God? How best reflect the wonders of our Maker? Humbly we will walk, with mercy respond, and know the essence of love is always with us. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, born in the image of God are we. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, called to compassion, born to be free. How shall we love the neighbor filled with greed? How best respond to those consumed by hatred? Look beyond the fear that keeps them from knowing the abundance of love that's always with us. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, born in the image of God are we. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, called to compassion, born to be free. How shall we see the images of Christ? Then shall we know that God is in our neighbor. Humbly we will walk, with mercy respond, and know the essence of love is always with us. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, born in the image of God are we. Imago Dei, Imago Dei, called to compassion, born to be free. Called to compassion, born to be free. May be seated. all lined up to play my guitar, and it's been sitting out here in the cold, and it definitely was out of tune with the piano. How often are we out of tune with what God wants? To the tune that God is calling, how often are we just a little bit off sometimes? Not in perfect harmony, not even a third step, but like a, ooh, yes, sending those with pitch perfect ears running for the hills. Let us join together in our unison prayer of lament. Merciful God, you have created a world of diversity, of wonder, and of love. Too often in our history and today, we have sought sameness, certainty, and control. Your church is called to bless and affirm and protect, but has been at the forefront of hurting rather than those who are not culturally, morally, or socially acceptable. Lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, questioning, and non-binary. Help us to bless and affirm and to protect our siblings, your children created in our image. Let us turn to Psalm 133. How very good and pleasant it is when kindred live together in unity. It is like the precious oil on the head running down upon the beard of Aaron, running down over the collar of his robes. It is like the dew of Hermon, which falls on the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord ordained blessings, life forevermore. I invite Ann to come up and light our peace candle.
It's a custom in our congregation to light our peace candle during worship as a witness to the Prince of Peace and our communal intention to be peacemakers as a just peace church. Breathe, as in shadow. Rosamond S. King. Breathe, as in what if the shadow is golden? Breathe, as inhale, assuming exhale. Imagine that. As in first person singular, homonym, as in subject, as in center of the world, as in mundane. The opposite of spectacle, spectacular. This is just us breathing. Imagine normalized respite, gold and shadows. You have the right to breathe and remain. Imagine that. Please pass the peace to one another.
All who are able, let us rise up and sing God's Eye is on the Sparrow on 475.
Why should my heart be lonely?
So glad that we could drop that hymn down a couple notches so we didn't all have to reach for that note. It's hard enough for most of us anyway. I invite Nancy to come up and read our first scripture reading.
By way of introduction, reading 2 Corinthians can be a chaotic experience. Paul's thoughts jump around. He expresses wildly divergent emotions. He is upset, in tears, and then confident and happy. He begs the Corinthians, hurts them, is sarcastic, and then brags about them to others. Paul is fighting for the Corinthians with every weapon in his rhetorical arsenal. At the same time, Paul wants the Corinthians to understand that God's power is made perfect in weakness. For when I'm weak, then I'm strong. The Corinthians also experience God's power when they share Paul's weakness and Christ's suffering. So the reading today is taken from 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 1 through 13 from the Message. Companions as we are in this work with you, we beg you, please don't squander one bit of this marvelous life that God has given us. God reminds us, I heard your call in the nick of time. The day you needed me, I was there to help. Well, now is the right time to listen, the day to be helped. Don't put it off. Don't frustrate God's work by showing up late and throwing a question mark over everything we're doing. Our work as God's servants gets validated, or not, in the details. People are watching us as we stay at our post, alert, unswervingly, in hard times, tough times, bad times, when we're beaten up, jailed, and mobbed. Working hard, working late, working without eating, with pure heart, clear head, steady hand, in gentleness, holiness, and honest love, when we're telling the truth, and when God's showing his power, when we're doing our best setting things right, when we're praised and when we're blamed, slandered and honored, true to our word, though distrusted, ignored by the world but recognized by God, terrifically alive, though rumored to be dead, beaten within an inch of our lives but refusing to die, immersed in tears, yet always filled with deep joy, living on handouts, yet enriching many, having nothing, having it all. Dear, dear Corinthians, I can't tell you how much I long for you to enter this wide open, spacious life. We didn't fence you in. The smallness you feel comes from within you. Your lives aren't small, but you're living them in a small way. I'm speaking as plainly as I can and with great affection. Open up your lives, live openly and expansively.
All right, quiz time. The Gospel of Mark is the first of the 4 Gospels written. True or false? It is true. The Gospel of Mark is the shortest of the 4 Gospels. True or false? True. All right, 1 for 2. How many times does the Gospel of Mark writer use the word immediately? Now, I said it wrong a couple times, so if you get that one, I will give you points for it. 40-some is very, very close. It's 42. And the Gospel of Mark, true or false, has the most beautiful birth narrative of the four Gospels. True or false? False, because it doesn't have a birth narrative in it. All right. Now you're going to be paying attention a little more, because what is he going to ask next week? Reading just a short little story. And again, yes, 42 times Jesus is saying at once Jesus does this, immediately this happens, and then they go here and then they go there. It is a very action-packed. It's the action movie of the Gospels, because it's always moving on to the next thing. It doesn't loiter, it doesn't linger, it just cuts to the next scene, boom, cuts to the next scene, boom. That's what it happens here in verses 35 through 41. Later that day, when evening come, Jesus said to him, let's cross over to the other side of the lake. They left the crowd and took him in a boat just as he was. Other boats were following. Gale force winds arose, and the waves crashed against the boat so that the boat was swamped. But Jesus was in the rear of the boat, sleeping on a pillow. They woke him up and said, Teacher, do you not care that we are drowning? He got up and gave orders to the wind and said to the lake, Silence! Be still. The wind settled down, and there was a great calm. Jesus asked them, Why are you frightened? Don't you have faith yet? Overcome with awe, they said to each other, Who is this then? Even the wind and the sea obey him. Blessed be the reading and the hearing of the story of God and the gathering of God's people. Are you guys comfortable coming up and talking with me a little bit? If not, that's fine. There are two young guys there. Nope. All right. Understand, none of our kids here want to do that either. Guess it's Fear the Beard Day or something. Our year. All right, so Jesus gets in a boat. Do you guys own a boat? Are you guys up here boating? Nope. Oh, you do own a boat. Have you ever been out there when the waves are really big and the wind's crashing around you? No? He only takes you out when it's nice and safe? All right. Well, good parents. Good job. Wow. Okay. That's you know of. We'll say it that way. But when Jesus is out on the lake with in this story, he's not out at the big lake like Lake Superior. Sometimes they call it the sea, but it's not as big as Lake Superior. But it is pretty good that it takes a while to get from one side to the other. And while they are going on it, this great wind, gale force winds. Have you ever got blown over by a wind? Nope. Have you ever seen trees blown over by wind? That's pretty spectacular. And so they were fighting into the wind to go to the other side. And all the disciples, all 12 of them, they were probably all rowing and just hoping and struggling. And what was Jesus doing? Do you remember from the story? He was sleeping, yes. Now, if you were out in a boat and all of you were helping and your dad was in the back sleeping, wouldn't you be a little perturbed? A little angry, a little wondering, Dad, there's winds coming over the waves, and you're sitting there sleeping? Wouldn't that be a little strange? You just jump into the lake. All right. You've read the story of Jonah way too much, I'm guessing. But Jesus, he gets woken up from his nap. I mean, he was out preaching all day. He was healing people. He was tired. And then he gets up and he says, peace, be still, and everything calms right down. And he goes, why can't you guys do this? What's the matter with you? They're looking at him like big saucer eyes. Because would you be able to tell this? Could you go out and say, stop raining right now? And would it obey you? And it's just a little bit of rain. I can't do that. Some people wish I could, but I can't. But here's Jesus. He's just taking it easy. He's just resting. He's just taking a nap. Now, as adults, we all wish we could take naps in the afternoon. And as kids, we don't. But Jesus says, hey, it's okay to take a nap, even when things are kind of getting crazy. Because we can trust in God, and we can trust in the people around us. All right? All right. I invite the choir up.
This is a song that we decided it's more fun to sing with everybody. So we'll sing it through, and you can join us as soon as you're comfortable singing it, and I'll call out the verses as we go. Oh, I can just do it, yeah. Thanks. So it goes like this. And it's a familiar tune with new words. Goes like this. Soon and very soon we are going to change the world. Soon and very soon we are going to change the world. Soon and very soon we are going to change forever and ever. Forever and ever we're going to change. Equal rights for all. Equal rights for all. We are going to change the world. Equal rights for all. We are going to change the world. Equal rights for all. We are going to change forever and ever. Forever and ever we're going to change the world. Freedom to show your love. Freedom to show your love. We are going to change the world. Freedom to show your love. We are going to change the world. Freedom to show your love. We are going to change the world. Forever and ever we're going to change the world. Inclusive and welcoming. Inclusive and welcoming. We are going to change the world. Inclusive and welcoming. We are going to change the world. Inclusive and welcoming. We are going to change the world. Forever and ever we're going to change. Discrimination gone. Discrimination gone. We are going to change the world. Discrimination gone. We are going to change the world. Discrimination gone. We are going to change the world. Forever and ever we're going to change. Mobilize today. Mobilize today. We are going to change the world. Mobilize today. We are going to change the world. Mobilize today. We are going to change the world. Forever and ever we're going to change the world.
The word homosexuality first entered the Bible in the 1940s. That's the first time it appeared in any translation. And that translation was in Germany. Think about it. 1940s, Germany is when the first homosexuality first entered into our biblical literature. Now, there are 7 instances in the Bible that talk about same-sex acts. And most of us will probably think about, well, Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, that's how we get our word sodomize. But if we look at the other biblical references, Ezekiel, the prophet, and Jesus himself said the greatest sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was lack of compassion. It wasn't sex, it wasn't violence, it was a lack of compassion. It wasn't until later that the Roman Empire looked at that and said, oh, that's bad, and this is what happened. And they interpreted that it was supposed to be homosexuality that was the greatest sin of Sodom and Gomorrah, not lack of compassion, not welcoming the stranger, not protecting those who were the weakest. I'm reading a book right now called Jesus and John Wayne. I got that from Pastor Bill, recommendation from Trinity. And it talks about how in America, going back to the 1920s and a little bit of Pentecostalism, but mainly starting with Billy Graham, who when he started doing his revivals, and he would go and he would lift weights so he can look all buff, and he'd make sure that he was tan so that he'd look robust and healthy. And then they started finding other men who were robust and healthy looking, and this is what it means to be a man in America, and this is what it means to be a Christian in the world. And they often lifted up John Wayne, the war hero, on film, that this is the paragon of Christianity in America. And they started inviting him to the rallies and to speak about American conservatism, even though he never went to church. He rarely went to church on Sunday morning. He rarely read the Bible. He probably just got enough to get his notes so that he could stand up in front of everybody and say, this is what you do to be a good Christian. And onward and forward and onward and forward until we're in today, where we have Focus on the Family that started, and all these other parachurch organizations that say to be a good Christian, you have to have a good traditional family, you have to love the flag, you have to embrace militarism. And you have to be one of us. You have to look like us, act like us, talk like us. There you go. That's a good American Christian. So last night, I was able to get out on the lake. And when I put my boat in over the water, over on the parking rack, there was just one other couple putting in the canoe. And I'm like, is this all? It's just going to be 2 of us? But all of them were putting in at the North House. So we went around the break, and there was all these boats. And we got out there. And after a while, the water was almost perfectly still, and got some great camera shots. Some great shots of some of the boats out there. Beautiful. Nice and calm. And as I looked around and I looked at the different boats, the different sizes and those who were manning them, I'm like, I could think about yesterday if a great wind did come up, there'd be a few of those boats. Well, one of the boats I saw, they were bailing. It was sitting in the water on the shore. They were bailing it out before they got in and got out there. There were a few of our I think, interns out there on those little rowboats who were really struggling to keep a straight line. So if a storm came up, not all of them would have made it safely to shore. Other ones would have helped them, I'm sure. We would have gathered together, but it was one storm, but not everybody had the same seaworthy crafty, or sea craft. How do we say that? Seaworthy craft. There we go. Not all of us had the same, all the expertise to know how to handle those crafts. But being in America, being a white guy over 50, middle class, having a good structure around me of church and family and government, I can handle those storms here in America. Not everybody can. Especially the storms of hate, storms of discrimination, storms of fear. Someone posts something on my Facebook against me, it's not going to matter too much about me, but posting against that these people shouldn't vote, or these people shouldn't marry, or these people shouldn't do this, they don't have those same supports to weather those storms. So just in these 6 little verses, this little story about Jesus after feeding the 5,000, after healing many, after preaching. It says he preaches, but he often doesn't say what he talks about. But we did talk about the parables last time, so we did hear a few of the things he talked about, but usually we don't. It's all action, action, action. He gets into the boat, and he's exhausted, and he says, go. And so there's him and the disciples in one boat, other boats are following, and this great storm arises. And they're paddling and they're bailing to beat the band. And the waves are coming over the bow. And finally they look back and they see him just sleeping. It says on a pillow, probably on netting, probably a fish net, but he's sitting there sleeping, and they wake him up. Don't you care that we're all going to die? Okay, gets up. Peace. Be still. Peace. Be still. Now this, as I said, this reminds me of another Old Testament story of Jonah. Now Jonah, he tried to run from God, and God made the great winds come up and was swamping the boat, and they were all going to die. And Jonah said, here's what you do, throw me overboard. Jump in the lake. And as soon as they did that, the wind calmed down, and they were nice, and they were able to make their trip, and then he got swallowed by a whale. Or a great fish, depending on what translation you look at. See, Jesus, he was going towards what God wanted him to do, and the disciples were nervous, and they were anxious because they were going from their home country across a lake over into Roman territory, to people who didn't speak their language, to people who didn't believe like they did, to people who they didn't know from Adam. So now they were not only worried about the storm, but they were worried about what are they doing. They should stay here, over here. It's nice. It's safe. Look at all these crowds that are joining around us, and now you want to go over there where nobody knows us. Well, at least they didn't say, well, it's better off we die than go over there. But they wanted to get there safely. Jesus sends up peace. Be still. Now there are three, in this 6 verses, there are 3 times when it says great. Great, like the awesomeness and the fullness and the power. Great. There was the great gale force winds. And then after Jesus got up and said, peace be still, there was a great calmness. And In the NRSV, New Revised Standard Version, it says there was a dead calm, like not even the wind from a mosquito. It was dead calm. And then there was the great awe of the disciples, but it more accurately is a great fear, not awesome, like great, wow, look at what he can do. This is great. They're like, look what he can do. Oh my God. He can control this stuff. That's scary. They were filled with great fear when they saw the power that Jesus had. And Jesus was filled with great irritation. Why did you wake me up? I was having a perfectly good nap. Why couldn't have you done this? Don't you have faith yet? Why are you so filled with anxiety? Why are you so filled with fear? Don't you trust that God's going to get us through whatever we are going through? So in talking about Jesus and John Wayne and the religious right, the Bible was not written for Americans. We often think that, oh, we're a Christian nation and, oh, God was, and we are at the epitome and height of everything that history has come. We're the culmination of everything. But when Paul was writing to the Corinthians and Mark was writing his gospel, he wasn't writing it for that someday Americans can have this great society. He was writing it for Christians, whoever they were, no matter what language they spoke. When Jesus spoke, he didn't say, okay, soon and very soon, the American Christianity shining light on a hill is going to flood the whole world and make everything great and amazing. He said, here is what we do. We love. Again, we love with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength. We do that for God, with God, to God. We love our neighbors as ourselves. We love. Here's how they know you follow me, that you love others as I have loved you. Now, John Wayne and Reagan and former president would have been perfectly fine as a biblical family because there was no American suburb in the Bible where Ma cooked the meals and Dad went off to work and the kids played quietly. Families in the Bible, Ruth, giving up all to be with Naomi, going and marrying someone else so that they could have protection. Jacob, who married 2 sisters and had 13 kids, 12 sons and a daughter with 4 different women. King David, he had 1,000 wives, but he loved no one more than Jonathan. It's in the Bible. It says that. That's actually in the Bible. He loved Jonathan more than any other person in the world, including his 1,000 wives. And Jesus says, those who follow God and do God's will are my mother, are my brother, are my sister. That is my family. Not that you have to act this way, not that you have to follow these certain rules. Well, God's rules, yes, but not cultural rules. Not that you have to present yourselves in a certain fashion, but that you love. If you love your neighbor, if you love God, if you love yourself, you're part of the family. So families have always come in different shapes and forms and ways. And over the past, well, since the 1960s and free love, we have been having that battle between this, if we only get everybody in this kind of family and doing this kind of thing, then everything else is going to be peachy keen. And America will be great again. Or, if we allow people to love each other as adults. It says, I found this interesting, that in our Constitution where it says marriage, it doesn't say marriage is between a man and a woman. It says marriage is between two consulting adults. Consenting adults. Consenting adults, not consulting. Well, hopefully they consulted someone about it, yes, but but two consenting adults. So, yeah, we now have Supreme Court guaranteed that two men, two women, two non-binary people can be married. That two gay people can adopt a kid. It's coming harder and harder in some states. So there are storms out there that they are facing that I don't have to face. That are facing them without the resources that we have. Sometimes with church, sometimes with laws, sometimes with financial means, sometimes with a community that says, we got your back. So we are an open and affirming church. And this is the first time I've been in an open and affirming church, so I'm glad about that. I really am. But I'm not always sure what we should be doing as an open and affirming church because I've not done this before. But I think two things that we need to continue to work on and continue to do is one, shelter. In the midst of the storm, can we have a place where they can come and rest and not feel attacked, where even though the storm is raging, the winds are blowing, they can feel safe and secure to take a nap, literally or figuratively, among us, and they don't have to worry. They don't have to be anxious. They don't have to be filled with fear. And secondly, can we speak to those storms? Can we continue to speak to those storms? Not that we are going to get up this morning and say, be still, be silent, and all of that homophobic rancor will go away. But can we add our voice and continue to talk and speak out and say, they are loved. They are welcomed, not just in our church, but in our community, not just in our community, but our state, not just in our state, but our nation, not just in our nation, but in the world. No matter who you are, no matter where you are on life's journey, you are welcome. Here, but everywhere. Can we do this without great fear, but with just that little bit of faith, that little bit of courage? Amen. As we come into a time of prayer, we ask if there are any joys to be shared this day. Rain. Thank God for rain.
Well, I can just remind people, yeah, Vicky's coming home tomorrow.
And Vicky's coming home tomorrow.
I'll throw out there that Odin and Amanda and Matt are up at our guest cabin and they greet everyone. And Odin caught his first fish on Hungry Jack Lake.
All right. Odin caught his first fish on Hungry Jack Lake. And he's not going to tell us, I'm sure. That's his spot now. Just being gathered together. Concerns to be lifted up. People we need to pray for.
Francie told me I could tell people she's having shoulder surgery on Tuesday. Francie Beaster. Keep mentioning your prayers.
Francie Beaster is having shoulder surgery on Tuesday. Let's keep her in our prayers. Anne?
It's World Refugee Sunday today, and I was trying to put it in perspective. There are, at least as of 2019, there were 25 million refugees in the world, and that would be like as if all of Minnesota's citizens times 4 were refugees. And you can almost double that number to talk about internally displaced people. You know, they're within their country, but they're not at home. It's just an amazing number of people that are wanting to be home.
Anne is lifting up that today is World Refugee Sunday, and that we have over 25 million people, about 4 times the population of Minnesota, that have no home. And more than that, who are internally displaced in their own country. Any others to lift up? Anything else?
Well, I guess I'm thinking of Chris McPherson, who Jenny said died early this morning. And so lift up her, celebrate her life, prayers for her family.
Prayers for the family of Chris McPherson, who passed away this morning. Let us come into prayer. Mighty and merciful God, with all the storms raging, with all the people needing help, we are not called to build an ark to save some. We are not called to build bigger boats to save ourselves. We are called to use what we have to become better disciples, better healers, better gatekeepers, better proclaimers of your love, more compassionate, and doers of justice. Help to lead us as only you can. Not to be saviors of the world, but to be your witness. To tell your stories, to share your love, and to provide those safe places for those who have no place to stay, no place to be who you created them to be. May the seeds that we plant continue to grow. May your kingdom come. We lift up those in our hearts and our minds who are in need of prayer, who are in need of comfort, and those upon our prayer list: Meredith, Vicky, Paul, Rana, Marais, Francie, Eleanor, Nona, Lou, Bev, Dick, and Bobby. Hear us as we pray the prayer as taught by your Son. Our Father, Mother God, you are in heaven. Holy is your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. In our time of giving, we have a basket back there. If you want to give something this day, we have multiple ways through our website and through Kevin in which we can contribute. We thank everyone for music, for setting up, for all of the events that we have through our community and through this church building, and the stewards who help keep us moving forward. I invite Jenny to come up and share a little of news of God at work.
The board met on Tuesday. This is our last meeting with the current board. A lot of what we did was to plan for the summer meeting. I keep calling it annual, but we meet twice a year. So the summer meeting is next Sunday. It'll be in the parking lot. If you're unable to attend, watch the email on Thursday. You can copy off the ballot and send that into the office if you wish to vote both on the bylaw change and vote for 6 people for the board. The nominating committee has a slate of 6 people. You're welcome to write in someone else, nominate yourself, but anyway, we will take the top votes for 6. If you have questions about any of that, please contact me. If you're on a committee or work group or something, there is a time during the annual meeting that we're going to identify committees and what they do, and if somebody from each of those committees might say a word or two, that'd be awesome. There are, of course, the events that are happening. Wednesday singing group is a lot of fun. Tai Chi, I have not been, but I hear it's a lot of fun. And you can sit and do a harbor watch on Friday mornings.
Bible study has been put on the shelf until the fall.
Okay.
The book study of Isaiah.
I think
Is Saturday night.
the Pride March is next Saturday. If you like the song the choir sang today, I think we're singing it at the Pride March, which is starting at the harbor. 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock Saturday. Also watch the space. There may be a celebration of life that same day for Joan Drury. And Odds and Ends is going to be open for the summer, but they are looking to restructure. So if Odds and Ends is something that's dear to your heart and you want to be part of it, Chris Silence might be someone to talk to. But otherwise, I think it might go away after the summer. And that's unfortunate because it's something that raises a lot of money for nonprofits, and including us in the county. So thanks.
Any other announcements to be made? Well, then let us rise for our closing hymn. We are marching in the light of God.
We are marching in the light of God. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, marching. Oh, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, marching. Oh, we are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, marching, marching. Oh, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, marching. Oh, we are marching in the light of God. 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 We are marching, marching, marching. Oh, we are marching in the light of God. We are marching, marching, marching. Oh, we are marching in the light of God.
And now may God bless you and God keep you. May God's face shine upon you. May God's face shine upon this world and grant all peace. Amen. Go in peace.